There is a reason why more than 95% of crypto investors actually lose money in bull markets. Today, I am breaking down one of the most important and one that you're probably already making. Have you ever thought about it? Why do so many people invest in crypto and yet no one is driving around in Lamborghinis, or at least very few? And the answer is simple. Most people have to lose money in order for one person to make life-changing money. Now you're thinking to yourself, Kyron, this 95% can't be true. It is true. 95% of people legitimately make no money. Everyone talks about it. Everyone has money on paper until the time to sell comes around and everyone's got the screenshots but not the actual money in their account. The top 3% of people make a bit more money than break even, maybe 2 or 3x, and only about 2% of people actually make any kind of life-changing money. I dare say even lower than that, possibly less than 1%. So for that exact reason, I'm making this video to try and help as many people as possible beat the most common mistakes that wrecks 95% of people, so you can hopefully at least be a part of the 3% and more importantly be part of the 2% of people that actually make enough money to afford the Lamborghini in the garage. With that being said, pay very close attention and let's begin. Exciting news, guys. Really exciting news, actually. You can see here, we're going to have a quick look into the macro world for 1 second to figure out what comes next. I've got some really good information here. So first of all, this is Bitcoin's price in orange, and beneath it is the QQQ, which is like NASDAQ top 100 stocks minus non-financial companies, right? What I've noticed is Bitcoin kind of works as a little bit of an extension to the QQQ. It looks very, very similar. And what I've highlighted here is major dips that have come in the QQQ, which tend to be, you can see here, a little bit of a dip for Bitcoin, but mainly a local low where we kind of see a massive move come after that. So you can see here a low in the QQQ, a low in Bitcoin. We created higher lows from that point in time. Again, the pandemic. I partly do think the reason why we actually topped over here was because the QQQ actually topped and kept going. Now, it's obviously come down here. It's pulled Bitcoin down as well. And we've kind of put in these higher lows along the way for Bitcoin. And we've had this massive dip recently from the tariff news, which of course Bitcoin felt as well. But again, what's happened every single time, you can see here, the QQQ has any major drop. Okay, Bitcoin has gone higher. The QQQ has gone higher. And I do think this will continue because if you have a look at the S&P is at the very tail end of a 26.5-year cycle in which, if it's anything like the previous cycles, we'll see roughly a 15 to 30% pump over the next 12 to 18 months before we have a massive 50% crash. Now you're asking, why does this have any importance in my altcoin situation? Well, if the S&P is going up here in a monumental push, as it does every literally 26.5 years, therefore pulling up the QQQ, which pulls up Bitcoin, that means that we could be in for a lot more gains still to come in this bull market, which may even go longer than what many people expect. Importantly as well, when this happens, if the S&P and the QQQ pull up Bitcoin, that's going to cause alt season. Bitcoin exploding is actually a good thing for altcoins because, believe it or not, altcoins go up a lot more in the right conditions. And I want to actually talk a little bit about these conditions in just one moment because what I'm seeing right now is really good. But first of all, alt season will at that point probably go on for anywhere between 200 days, so around about 6 to 7 months, right through to even 12 or 13 months. So buckle up because this could be a longer ride than what many of us expect, or it could time in nicely with the 4-year cycle being over December or even January. Now, this chart here, which Ben Cohen posted recently, is social risk. So in addition to all of these macro cycles continuing higher and pushing forward like nothing ever phased it, we have social risk at lows. You can see here at the very, very bottom of this score, and social risk is important because this looks at how much people are interested in crypto. If this thing spikes like back in 2021 and 2018, that means we're in euphoria because everyone's coming into crypto and looking at YouTube and Twitter and Reddit and crypto. But right now, no one really cares about crypto, which is what you want to see when ETH is awake, when Bitcoin is at all-time highs, and when alts have started to react from ETH going up. So I think this is a perfect recipe for success. And I told you guys before, what I'm seeing right now is really good. It is the official start of what could be alt season because this time is not different to the characteristics of alt season unlike the past. What we're seeing right now is Bitcoin dominance falling, big tick. We're seeing ETH dominance in purple increasing a lot, while we're seeing others' dominance increasing but slower than Ethereum. They're increasing down here in blue. If we have a look at the previous cycle, what started alt season, Bitcoin dominance was falling. ETH dominance picked up all of the market cap that Bitcoin was bleeding. So you can see it spike up a lot here. And altcoins took a little bit more convincing after ETH took off. But once ETH took off, you can see ETH actually went down and altcoins continued going up. So ETH, kicks altcoins up the arse and says, you guys got to get moving. Now's your time to run. Okay. And alts definitely do from that point in time. But ETH leads the charge. What was different about the Trump pump back over here in late last year, where we kind of were like, yeah, alt season's coming, was the fact that this was all out of whack. We had Bitcoin dominance falling, a big tick, many would agree. What we saw back then was ETH dominance in purple actually stalling. It went down a bit, but then come up again and went sideways. And others, so the blue here, right, altcoins, they skyrocketed. So that was way out of whack. We didn't have the sequence of events we're seeing right now like the previous cycle. So this is a very good sign, in addition to a whole bunch of the other macro factors I just explained to you. Let me now explain to you what this mistake is and how do you avoid it. Now, I guarantee you, you're probably doing this right now. Before I mention what that is, of course, if you guys want more information on how to beat this market, whether it does come down to organizing your sell levels correctly with some of the amazing sheets we have, of course, realistic price predictions built on data, or you just want to be in a community of like-minded people, okay, we have everything for you in the vault. I'll leave the link down below. We will have level 0, which will be free to join in the next coming days. So you can just get yourselves in there and at least start learning something. It's much better than nothing. There's actually 2 mistakes that go into this. And the first one here always comes when Bitcoin's breaking all-time highs, when Ethereum is about to break all-time highs, and when a lot of the top-ranking altcoins start putting in some really good returns, and you're like, my coin is probably better than some of these coins. Like, no doubt, a lot of coins are better than Ethereum Classic. Like, Ethereum Classic is up 36% right now. Like, why is a quality coin like, I don't know, name your coin, not doing as good? And so what happens is, at this critical time right now, which actually happened to me at this exact same time back in 2020 and 2021, what's happening is you get FOMO, you get greed, and you want to move some of the altcoins or some of the money you have in altcoins into the ones that are already moving, because you're like, oh my God, am I in a bad coin? It's not moving. Or I better get into this coin because if I don't, I might miss out on some gains. And it's called chasing the dragon. Many of you may have heard of it. Essentially, it's constantly recycling and repeating all of your gains into different coins. Essentially, you're like a continuous exit liquidity for people who just hold their coins and end up making all the money from just being patient. I mean, we're at the very start of a very big bull run, in my opinion. Okay, you can't really go wrong with just holding altcoins, and most of them should do pretty decently unless you've picked a horrible coin. A prime example is this chart here. This is Cardano, and in red is Render. And I just want to show you guys what could possibly happen to you if you're constantly chasing the coin that's pumping the flavor of the week. So in this example, right, you can see here at the start of this particular move in late 2023, Render started moving much faster than we saw Cardano over here. So this example isn't exact, but it does definitely happen. So imagine now where you can see from this move here to where Render peaks, it went up a 10x, right? All the while, Cardano only went up a 3x. What I notice is a lot of people end up, for example, starting in a coin like Render, so a smaller market cap relative to where they might want to move. And what happens is the larger market cap might start moving up faster, like what's happening now, and all of a sudden they're in Render. Even if Render's moving up a little bit, they feel the need to move into the flavor of the week. So in this case, maybe Cardano's up over here. All right, Cardano's gone from 25 cents. It's 2x up to a bit over 2x up to 60 cents over here. You know, Render maybe hasn't done as many multiples, so they get FOMO and they decide to sell their Render position and they decide to go into Cardano. Now, the problem with this, of course, is you don't know where that move will end. So what happened in this example was the max move Cardano made was a 3x. Meanwhile, if someone in this example just held on to their Render position, they would have 10x'd, or again, sold probably sometime earlier than that, but they would have 10x if they held to the very top. So what often happens is moving into Cardano, since you're buying at a much higher price, you're actually negative when the market does eventually retrace, which all coins eventually do. So, people buying Cardano back down here would actually still be in a profit at this point. But because you bought sort of a local top, you're now negative. If you had just held your render, you would have made more money on the move, but even if it did fall, you'd still be in profit, okay, from down here. And so why this is important is because you've now lost money trying to chase gain. But what happens is something much worse. You're down here still invested in Cardano. Now, because you have no conviction in Cardano, you don't know two things about it, and also you've just lost money on this coin, you don't like the coin now, you end up going back to what you know, like a crazy ex-girlfriend. You don't know why you keep going back to her, but you go back to her just because it's that sort of emotional comfort. You go back to render, okay? And so what happens is, okay, maybe you make a good decision. Maybe render goes up 100x from here. Or maybe, like in this example, you buy back in a render, and render from these prices only goes up a 2x, and your Cardano position would have been up a 4x. So again, you've lost money. You've timed things horribly. Now, more often than not, this happens to most people. Again, it's called chasing the dragon. Essentially, people move into a position, they end up losing money on that, they know nothing about the coin, and then they decide to move back into a coin they know or a new flavor of the week, a new hot coin of that month or whatever it may be, and the same cycle repeats. It's what happened to me in the last cycle. I made the most money from sticking with the coins I had conviction in, therefore done my research on, and that I believed in, than any coin I decided to do this method with. Now, where part 2 comes into this equation that marries up with the same thing is regarding microcap positions. Because a lot of people go into microcaps because they hear some influencer tell them they have to have their whole portfolio in these sub 10 million market cap coins to make any sort of decent money, where that's just not simply true. That's why I don't talk about microcaps predominantly on this channel. You can see right now, bottom 500 to 1,100 coins are way down here, and the top 20 coins are way up here. Top ranking coins can still do some decent multiples, particularly here top 80 coins, so 21 to 100 in yellow are still much higher. If I toggle here top 2 to 300 and top 1 to 200 coins, they're way down here right now. Now, believe you me, if I zoomed out and show you guys all the way back throughout history, you would most definitely find that the bottom microcap ranking coins end up having explosive gains towards the very end of the bull run, which is where this next part here will come in, but you've got to be very careful because when you are in mainly microcaps at these exact moments, like I explained to you guys over here, at this moment that's happening right now, you see the large caps doing well, your microcaps are still putting in lower lows, and you're like, oh my God, have I picked the wrong microcap? Am I going to lose all my money? And so the same thing plays out, but of course, even worse, because microcaps, you could very well be down 50% in a single day if you're not careful, right? So this is actually an example that happened to me in the previous cycle with this coin in yellow here called Veracity, okay? And so I've got AVAX as an example in red here, so Avalanche. And what often happens is maybe you're holding this Veracity coin in yellow all the way down here. So 3.5 million market cap, very, very small coin, okay? And you're seeing some of the large cap coins move like right now. And for example, maybe you decide to panic and you sell out of your coin and you end up buying somewhere along this avalanche pump. Usually it's towards the top side because, again, you only start to panic when these coins really start to blow up. So you might buy even the very, very top. And so what happens is when all of a sudden you see avalanche, fall down 15%, you might panic and you might go back to the crazy ex-girlfriend, sell your avalanche position, end up buying back down here. And then what happens, of course, is now you've lost money. So you have less money in Veracity than you had before. And Veracity maybe only does a 2x from there. But along the way, again, Veracity is doing the exact same thing as it was doing back over here. So you end up panicking because you can see Avalanche going up, okay? It's already a 1 billion market cap. Up here, it's about a 4 billion market cap, but it's moving, and it's moving quickly. So again, you end up buying at some crazy high price, normally towards the top, okay? And what happens is it topples over very quickly. All of a sudden now, you're probably down 30, 40, maybe even 50% in a coin you know nothing about, you don't like, and the only experience you've had is temporary gains and a lot of losses. So what I see is two things possibly happening in most cases. One, you go back to the crazy ex-girlfriend, you get lucky, maybe from this point in time, you go up a 63x, happy days, great stuff, good on you. A lot of the time though, at least what happened to me in the past was I would just be absolute sick of being in, out, back in these coins, I would just hold it, right? I just go, you know what? I've lost money. It's going to go up eventually. Let's just hope. So I hold on to it. And what happens is, again, you hold on to this coin, but you're actually only up, roughly speaking, maybe a 50%, maybe 100%. And then the coin that you held before, the Crazy X, does like a 63X, for example. So the second point I'm trying to make, in addition to trying to chase the dragon, is if you are in small cap coins, if you're in micro caps right now even, please, please, please understand your coins will pump likely very last. The large caps, the mid caps, ETH, Bitcoin, everything has to signal absolute euphoria. Your coins come in once people are like sold on the idea that this is alt season and it's time to make money in the small cap coins. So you've got to work with some patience. It's one of the most important reasons I don't talk about micro caps and small caps on this channel. The furthest I go down is mainly like, the top 300 or 400 coins. Sometimes I will mention those smaller caps because most people do not understand it takes an incredible amount of patience and an incredible amount of luck to find coins that end up 63xing even at all, and then not being able to rotate out of it when you start to get that FOMO feeling inside. So again, ask yourself, if I'm feeling FOMO right now, okay, why? Is it because the coin's pumping and my coin isn't? Or is it because my coin's actually dog shit and I need to get out of it and the other coins are good? So stay safe out there, be vigilant. I wish you all the best. If you made it this far, you can help support all I do here with a like on the video. You guys destroyed the likes on the last video. It did make my day when I woke up. So thank you. Let's try to get the likes up on this video again, and I will talk to you soon. Take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.